What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the second album by rapper Styles P. Basically this product is called Time is Money and it came out in the late fall of 2006. So the thing about this particular product is just the fact that Styles P was part of the rap group The Locks back in the day as far as those pitches can happen. Now he still is a part of The Locks, but it's just kind of the fair that they're not as commonly around full blown, I'd say, but they were definitely around throughout the mid-late 90s. For folks who don't full blown know, The Locks were kind of proteges of the Notorious B.I.G. back in 96, 97, right before he passed as far as those pitches can happen. I originally think if Biggie had not passed in early 97, I definitely think Biggie would have probably executive produced and probably featured on that particular album that came out in early 1998 with some good type fare. Jadakiss, Styles P, and Sheek Louch all have a lot of heraldment just within the tones of what they've done. They were also pretty good affiliates with DMX and those type fairs when New York rap kind of blew back up in like the late 90s, pitches like that. But the 2000s type fair was different just because of ringtone rap, southern hip hop, some of those type things that kind of happened. I kind of look after the tides had kind of shifted. Jadakiss was able to get a series of hit songs off of his 2004 album Kiss of Death, so he kind of had some bops here and there with like Akon features and some of that type of stuff. Actually, it was Styles P that had the Akon features. So Styles P was on Locked Up. Jadakiss just had some good features. He was just kind of out and about throughout the 2000s, but he had hit singles like Why. But yeah, so Sheek Louch was the only real one that didn't get as much heraldment like in the 2000s type fare. But yeah, just between the concepts of like ringtone rap, some of that type fare, you'll notice that there's a Lil Jon beat on here, which nowadays this song is not nearly as popular as it was back in the day. And another thing about this particular album is just the fact that this album, Time is Money, is not on Spotify, strangely enough. But the lead single off this product was called Can You Believe It with Akon. So Akon returned the favor for featuring Styles P on his particular song. So Styles P has a pretty good bop here to kind of get, and it's just a great Lil Jon beat. But this song, it's not to say that this is like the only standout. This is going to get a really excellent type score off this particular sound. It's going to get a really excellent type score. But in terms of like more beats, like the Lil Jon beat, that's kind of like Can You Believe It? There's not as many like that, so it's just kind of within the tone. But I do like the concept of seeing East Coast 2000s type fare, just because the concept there weren't. Like DMX was kind of here and there around this particular time. He was going through some personal struggles around this time, and Jadakiss wasn't dropping albums as much. He only dropped 3 albums in like the 2000s as far as those fairs kind of happens. There weren't a ton of predominant kind of East Coast rappers. Fabulous kind of would get at least a couple singles, but he was more ringtone rap that he mainly did with like the singles, some of that type fare. So there just weren't mainly largely kind of predominant East Coast rappers because of ringtone rap and southern hip hop and snap rap and some of that type of stuff around this particular time. But Styles P handled it well. So this is damn near a classic here. Has a lot more good looks about it than it does in just within the pitch behind it. I'd say definitely going to get over a 9 out of 10 as far as those pitches going to happen. And on top of that, Styles P is a rapper that can be on the same song as Notorious B.I.G. is the same pitch. He's pretty good lyricist within his own. You know, he competes with Jadakiss, some of those type folks, Sheek Louch, some of these type fairs as far as that kind of goes. There's some good lyricism on here. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and talk about the 3 singles here. Basically, the lead single, like I was saying, was Can You Believe It, featuring Akon. This is like a breezy kind of night venue hopper to kind of get here. Just a classic Akon hook. He really nails it, just like the classic team-up that they had from the 2000s, Locked Up. But I'd say it's another bopper just like that one. This one's not as jail-oriented, but it's just a good pitch. Kind of has some just emphaticness kind of get. It's like a routine kind of 2000s social hit to kind of get here, and it's very underrated nowadays. This is kind of a here-and-there type tune to get back in like 2005. It's kind of like if you heard this one more than like 2 or 3 times, you know, a couple of months, it was probably questionable just within the fare behind it, just because Styles P was more seldom around that particular time. But it's definitely an underappreciated one. Akon was just knocking out these hooks back in those days, and they have some great they have some great chemistry on here. I probably like this particular song better than like the collaboration that they did on Akon's Convicted album, which I think was called like Blown Away or something like that. They've done a series of collaborations. Locked Up is definitely a quality one. This one's probably pretty excellent as well. Real nice club glitz and vanilla song kind of get 2000s type fare. And then Blown Away is not a bad song. It's just probably the third ringers for us this pitch can have some good stuff. All 3 I would recommend. I'm Black is like the second single off here. It's like a throwback kind of mid-2000s mixtape soul to kind of get here. Just some nice haze, smoke up a bit, just good tones like that, good standard day kind of ruminations kind of get here. I do like some of this DJ drama and like Don Cannon type mixtape type fare. There's a couple ones like that on here as far as those pitches going to happen. Another one like that would be How We Live as far as those pitches kind of particularly goes. So it's just some good fare for some of that one. So the unfortunate thing is just the fact that Jadakiss does not feature on here more times. I look after would have been good pitch. It's too bad that Jake has only helped out with the chorus on How We Live, but it's a good tone kind of get. This mixtape type solo on I'm Black is a good type pitch. And then Favorite Drug is a nice one. It's like a gleaming kind of evening schmooze of a song here. I'd say some nice sunset enjoy to kind of get this great hotel music and a rosy kind of bop, nice lady song kind of mixed in with like some drug type fare of like in between like smoking and just, you know, the metaphor of women being marijuana as far as this pitch can happen, but just within a good tone behind it. It's a nice one to smoke a couple, I'd say, within the fare. So the thing about it is just the fact that because this album is not on Spotify, I can't refer back to like more in-depth type things. I can't refer back to more in-depth type things I think about this particular album just because I'd have to keep listening to like the YouTube ads and it would just take a lot longer. So I'm just going to breeze through a lot of these as far as those pairs kind of happen. But yeah, I pretty much recommended damn near every song on this album in most fashions. So out of 12 songs in this particular album, I wound up recommending at least 9 with 2 almost songs. That's a pretty good pitch behind that. So it'd basically be like 10.5 out of 12 as far as those pitch can happen, or well, yeah, just 11 out of 12, but 2 of them are almost songs just within the pitch behind it. So the score I'm going to give this album is a 9.25 out of 10. I look after, you would think damn near that only not recommending one song would be damn near. I mean, if I had recommended all 11 of these songs, it would easily get a 10 out of 10. It's just kind of the concept that some of these are almost songs just within the pitch and me questioning like the standard kind of frequency as to how often I'd listen to some of these. So basically the only song I don't recommend on here is just Burn One Down, which this is just kind of a clumsy kind of bravado type song kind of get for like some East Coast pounding. Just feels like a Dipset kind of throwaway, something off of like their 2003, 2004 collaboration albums that just doesn't work nearly as well. It's kind of a plodding type one that just felt a little bit more cumbersome than what probably needed. That's the only real clumsy one on here, just being able to say that. The 2 almost songs would be Fire and Pain, and then Who Want a Problem, the remix. So basically, Who Want a Problem, the remix is like a ritzy kind of posse step out song I'd have to say here, just some get crunk kind of gloss kind of get and lyrical snarl about this particular one. 3 lyricists go in on this song, and Swiss Beats helps out as far as those pitches kind of happen. Nice tone kind of get. Vintage kind of locks. This is like some vintage kind of Locks Bliss to kind of have, but the production's a little bit shaky on here. I mean, it's not shaky in terms of being like a bad production. It's just kind of the fair that I do feel like a song like Can You Believe It just nailed the nightclub vibe a little bit better. This is a little bit more of like a standard kind of Stark type production. It has a little bit more with like mid-90s in mind, a little bit less kind of gloss and just bass up on the songs for those pitch kind of have with it. It's more traditional type New York. It's more traditional type New York type, not boom bap, but just kind of within the relative realm, just a little bit starker type production, I have to say. I do recommend it, but it's just kind of one it's one I recommend, but I just question the frequency as to how often I would listen to it were to come up in a shuffle pitch like that. I think I do like the song, but I just question the oftenness of it. And then this is the same thing with Fire and Pain. This is not a nightclub song, this is like an in-between kind of pondering summary, but kind of inward smoke. It's like an in-between kind of pondering, kind of get here some summary, but kind of inward smoke for stress relief to kind of get, I'd have to say. Just kind of the concept of just long day type fare, just afterthought type music kind of have within that fare, just within the pitch, just something like, you know, maybe work wasn't a full-blown bitch, but just kind of maybe just a little bit gnarled today, just pitches like that, where you're just a little bit annoyed, some of that type fare, just something, or just other problems, just standard bill paying, just standard stress, just standard drab and slag as far as those pitches can happen. Just kind of some good ones to kind of get within that tone, but I just look at it as just the question just behind Fire and Pain's just a little bit more through the motions, or you're just not within that mindset. It just is not as suiting as far as like the pitch. I mean, if you're not having like, I mean, it's good to have like these songs for having like a more ruffled type day, but it just is really, it's really one that just has like some unwind about it, as if there's something to kind of relieve that stress, like getting some good swish or something like that, or a pizza or some of that type fare. But it's just kind of within the tone. If you don't have like some goodies or a bad bitch or something like that to kind of get that unwind better, it just does not serve as much of a purpose to really have that relief just within the tones. This is kind of the thing. This is kind of the tone within it. So I look after it. But yeah, I recommend most of these songs on here. So once again, 9.25 out of 10. Just talk about some of these. Like a real surprising type one that I had a lot of fun with. This an overall enjoyable type one is G Joint, I'd had to say. It's like a nice bravado kind of NY flavor about this particular song. Just a promo-like single that feels like a pretty good anthem about that. Just a real nice bravado about this particular one. Like I was saying, feels like a Dipset kind of left over to kind of get here, and this just energizes pretty nicely, I had to say about this one. Just a real pounding type one. Just real triumphant, just overall like the appeal behind it. Definitely probably needed some guest rappers on here or some sort of remix. It's not to say this would be a pretty good song to get some freestyles to just within those pitches. Kind of see some other folks like Fabulous or Jadakiss, some of those type folks be able to tear this particular song up. Some of those type fairs, even Eminem in certain senses, some of those type folks I had to say. For the most part, it doesn't even feel like this album came out in 2006. I think apart from like the song Can You Believe It, there's just not really like a lot of embrace of like the standard things that were kind of popping around 2006. I mean, they had the folks that are on here, like when you think of some of these folks like J Hood, Reflection Eternal, Jadakiss, Gerald Levert, The Locks, Swiss Beats, you know, Jagged Edge. Jagged Edge had not been popular since like the early 2000s. Marsha Ambrosius. For the most part, it's not really that trendy, I'd have to say. It's not to say it's like it's an awkward album. It's just kind of the pitch that it feels like it's just it didn't come out in 2006, almost 2007 within the fair behind, which is strange. Just look after it. But there are some other nice ones on here. Kick It Like That's a good one. This has Jagged Edge, like I was saying. This is like some evening steam, I would have to say about this. Some summery kind of vibing. Goes great with Favorite Drug. I would definitely feel like some good Work Shift Retire and a good mingle to kind of get. So I do like the kind of rockish type production on here. It has a little bit of guitar riffs in there just in the tone. You like the appeal behind it, some kind of afterthoughts type moments that, yeah, this works well with Favorite Drugs. Some of those type fairs just be able to get like some just standard Sunset Skies pitches like that, I'd have to say. Real Shit's a pretty nice one. It's like a snaking kind of night shift trek to kind of get an outings fair to kind of have for some of this. Just a good 2000s kind of East Coast flavor for some of that type fair, like the 3-6 Mafia type style. Just more kind of night commerce, just goodies type music. This style shreds pretty well in this particular song. He definitely has some songs that he really goes in on. This is a great song to get some goodies and smoke up a bit to, I'd have to say. Just within that standard fare. How We Live is a quality one. It's like a woozy and kind of drafty, soulful wander to kind of get here. And by that, I just mean smoking hella good. It's like another good mixtape soul to kind of have just like on Black, I'd have to say. And this, yeah, like I was saying, great song to smoke up real nice to just get some chocolate Thai, weed, something like that. Some good grape swishers, strawberry swishers, some of that type of just real smoke up real nice and just have some distinction about it. It makes me question if Styles P put out some mixtapes, especially something hosted by DJ Drama or DJ Woo Kid, one of those DJs. He probably would have had an East Coast type DJ, but just me question as to where to some of those folks that probably could have been. Just wonder if we could have got more bops, especially some more bops with Akon and Lil Jon, some of those type of things that I had to say. But yeah, this is pretty excellently produced. There is a Scott Storch beat on here. There is a Neo the Matrix beat on here. The Alchemist has a pretty good beat on here. It's a couple Neo the Matrix beats. DMX producer Dame Grease has a pretty good beat on here and Leave a Message. High Tech has a pretty good producer. High Tech produced for G-Unit a couple times or a few times, I'd have to say. But yeah, Leave a Message is a nice one. It's like a clever song idea. I'd have to say this is like a dark and brooding kind of night glimmer to kind of get here, and this goes real well with Real Shit, I'd have to say. And this is great for like a snack run and just smokish, I'd have to say. Good concepts, kind of get some of that. Just within the pitch, Real Shit and Leave a Message are just like the more just kind of night commerce, just after hours type fare, just like the Dredge or just like, you know, Taco Bell run, some of that type fare. If you're in a big city, getting more Subway and Blimpie, some of those type pitches, just be able to get hot dog type fare, just after hours type pitch, or just kind of smoking behind buildings, some of that type fare, just to get goodies runs pitched like that. Red Eyes is pitched like that. And then Testify is a real nice one. Now this is definitely a Red Eyes one. This is like a Red Eyes kind of feeling hella torch just after hours. Enjoy to kind of get here, just some late night step out and like some city pizzazz. I would definitely feel like here just a real nice dazzler, and once again it's a pretty nice one that shreds with the lyrics, I'd have to say. Some good overall appeal. This has Talib Kweli on there. This is another one I forgot to, yeah, it says Reflection Eternal, but I guess it's Talib Kweli. Wikipedia has it listed differently, but I just would have to say within that tone, this is a pretty nice one to kind of get this more. It's more kind of, I don't want to say sarcastic full blown, but just kind of a little bit more just kind of ritzy, just kind of feeling a little bit hazed. It's kind of in a sniggering type mode, pitches like that. Just really enjoying the times, just feeling out and about. Just a social type song to kind of get, but then also just kind of feeling burnt, just having the pitch, just having some enjoy with like your posse pitches like that. Some good pals kind of have for some step out. It's nice pizzazz, gonna get some good city life. That's a good appeal. So yeah, score of this album gets a 9.25 just within the pitch behind it. The social score, that's kind of tricky. I think I'll give the social score like an 8.75. I like the fare behind it. This definitely has a lot of good glitz on here, but I feel like Styles P is just more off to the wayside. I think apart from probably the Akon song, I just don't see as much immediate highlights in terms of like the casual type fare. And it's kind of the concept. Styles P has always kind of been more seldom within the pitch. He gets like the occasional hit, but normally not more than one single. His album prior to this one, the one that came out in 2002, had a really good smoker's anthem. He's kind of like Devin the Dude and just being able to nail that song with that I Get High song. If I look after it, this is kind of a toss-up as to how much this is going to translate. I feel like there's some good songs in here. If you do like East Coast hip-hop, some of those more Night Snarls of Ones and Shredding Lyricism, there's some great ones on here. Who Wanted Problems a real great one. Real Shit's a real great one. Testify's a real great one. G-Joint's a real great one. For like some standard East Coast type lyrics, and these have some pretty bopping type beats. It's not stark, it's not boom bap, it's not more skeletal within the pitch. So it's pretty good produced. It's just kind of fair just questioning how hardcore it's going to be because it just doesn't have the big names on here. Apart from Akon and Jagged Edge, I'd have to say. But it does have some lyricists like Jadakiss, Chic Luch, and Talib Kweli, and some of those type folks, but it's just kind of within the fair. So that's just kind of the tone. But yeah, in terms of future, I'm not really sure as what full-blown Styles P has kind of been up to in recent times. I need to get some more of his albums. I do definitely want to review his 2002 album with that smoking lead single on there, I'd have to say. But there's some other ones. I do have decent memories of this particular album, but we'll have to get some more of these. I need to get the Jadakiss and Chic Luch as far as those pitches gonna happen, and the Locks albums, because I do definitely remember like the Locks' 1998 album. So we'll get to some of those as far as those pitches gonna happen. But yeah, this is damn near a classic here. Definitely a blistering type one, and it's easy enough to appreciate despite the fact that the casual appeal of it's not as blistering, but it's still some good stuff here.